With the release of the Guilty Gear Strive beta, I've been really amazed by how much the game got changed from previous Guilty Gears. A lot of things like Gatlings are different and many of the system mechanics, but it took me a while for me to learn and understand a lot of these mechanics, and although I know I still have a lot to learn, I kind of want to impart onto you newer players or people that are not as interested in the beta or have never really played a fighting game before. Overall beginners, I want to impart to you guys how I learned a little bit of the game and how a lot of systems that were in old Guilty Gears or a lot of character concepts are still in this game, and some are even better, in my opinion. That being said, I want to teach you how to enjoy Guilty Gear Strive, the beta.
Bullshit's blazing, still my heart is blazing. If the word kill me, I don't need a new one under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game.
However, before I want to get into how I started to enjoy this game and accept it for what it is, I want to start by prefacing what the system mechanics are and explaining on a basic level how to play Guilty Gear. The first thing I want to talk about is the Gatling system. The Gatling system is basically chaining normals into other normals. In Guilty Gear Strive, you're always going to be able to chain your standing kick into a sweep or a command normal. When you get up close, you can change standing slash into heavy slash. Another important mechanic are Roman cancels. You'll usually see them abbreviated to be RC, but basically they slow on time for a few seconds, and if the opponent is caught in the bubble of it, they'll also be slowed down. There are 4 versions: blue, purple, red, and yellow. Blue happens when you're not hitting an opponent and you're not in the middle of an action. Purple happens at the end of an action. Red happens during the middle of a move, and yellow happens when you're blocking. They all take 50%, and this is a great change because it allows for players to not feel like one option is better than the other. Faultless defense, also abbreviated to FD, is a mechanic where you can hold punch and kick at the same time or square and X while blocking, and it will basically make it so that when you're getting hit by the opponent, the wrist gauge doesn't fill up. Also, it makes it so that when you FD and the opponent is hitting you on block, it will push you back more so that you can get away from the opponent and not be stuck in pressure for too long. Another mechanic in Guilty Gear Strive is the addition of the wrist gauge. The more you hit an opponent on block, the higher their wrist gauge will go up. Eventually, when you hit them without them blocking the attack, they'll take extra damage depending on how much wrist gauge they have accumulated at that point. Once the wrist gauge is maxed out, symbolized by the caution symbol in the upper right hand corner, your next attack will counter hit. This makes it so that light attacks now are very dangerous and you can pressure with them and end up getting a full Gatling combo like it was an older Guilty Gear title. Also, I'm sorry if this is like a lot of technical stuff, but you also gotta understand, you don't need to know all this at once. I'm just putting this all in the video so that you know what everything does, you know how to apply it, but I'm not expecting you on your first match to FD, to use all your meter when you're doing Roman cancels. I'm still new to the game myself, and when I play a lot of matches, I forget to FD, I forget to Roman cancel. So a good way to know that you're improving is to start step by step. Maybe you don't FD, Roman cancel, do right pressure and defense all at once, so focus on one thing. Maybe all you want to do is stop somebody from coming in, so I'm going to teach you how to do that. It is not uncommon in this game for the opponent to air dash on you, land with an aerial, and then begin their block pressure while you sit there and block and potentially take a mix-up afterwards. However, most of the block pressure that these players will try and force on you will almost never be airtight, so I urge you to grab when you can, especially when you see that their feet hit the ground, in a hope that you can get back the initiative of the fight. This should help you with your defense, especially with characters that like to dash in a lot on you and try and enforce pressure that may not always be real. And another important mechanic for defense is the burst gauge. You start every match with the burst gauge full, and you can use it to stop yourself from being comboed or to get out of pressure in a block string that you don't want to hold. Once you use your burst, it comes back over the match from you doing damage, from you taking damage, and from other nuances like that. In addition to that, jumping in this game is insanely strong. And especially with the fact that you can block in the air, you need to be able to know how to anti-air properly. meaning how to press buttons to keep him away. Every character in the game has an anti-air button where you press forward and punch, which is 5p, or forward and square on the controller, and this can help defense a lot because it keeps them away. However, like I said again, jump-ins are really strong, so they can block this a lot. And if they want to go for a button, sometimes your forward P will miss. That being said, there are ways to mitigate this. There are some jump-in angles with characters that are really easy to see, and a lot of people online will jump in on you at a really bad angle in order to get a combo that's way more meaty or does more damage than other combos, right? So what you're gonna do here is that when you see him jump and you see the air dash, because now air dashes have a little bit of lag on them when they're about to start, if you see the trajectory and where it's about to angle, you can jump in the air, throw him out the air, and either convert into a mix-up on the ground or use RC and get a bigger combo from that. In addition to defense, you need to understand how to start your offense. Now naturally, with every character, it's gonna be different. For example, if you're playing a very fast rushdown character, I recommend you see what moves are jump cancelable. Jump cancelable means if you press a normal and you hold up, the character is going to jump right after the normal ends and cancel into the jump. Hence why it's called a jump cancel. This can quickly, especially if you're trying to play Millia, move your level of play up because Millia is a very fast character, especially with her air dashes. They don't go very far though, and you may think at first, okay, they're really bad to approach, but the more you play the character and the more you embrace the system, you can realize that you can walk up, do a bunch of 5Ks or neutral kick, X on the controller, and then cancel the kicks into air dash forwards and get a high-low mix-up, basically for them blocking one of your normals, which is completely possible and is very practical. Blocking is impractical in every fighting game, and when you're playing against Millia, now instead of being able to block strings and just sit there and let them hit you for a little bit, you have to be wary to always anti-air. And what we taught before about being able to throw anti-airs or do anti-air 5p, a lot of times you jump and jump cancel with Millia, sometimes you're just not going to press any buttons. Sometimes you're just going to jump cancel it, and then you can dash back, you can see what they do, and this is when you start building the mind game of fighting games. It stops becoming, oh, this option beats everything, and it starts becoming, oh wait, he's responding to me, or sorry, they're responding to me in whatever way they're responding to me, so I'm going to respond back to their response and mix them up. This is the core of fighting games, this back and forth between two players. And this is how you win in fighting games. You build trends through the patterns, and then you adapt depending on what it is. Never get too comfortable doing one strategy and never evolving past it, because trust me, at one point, when you crowd those levels in the tower, or you play enough people, they're going to get used to what you're doing, and they're going to find ways to counter it. In addition to certain normals being cancelable into jumps, normals are also oftentimes not cancelable into special moves. So you can press start, go into the thing that says command list, and you can scroll down and see all the character special moves, and from there you can check which moves are, you can check with the moves, and they usually have a nice little description next to them and how they're supposed to be used, and you can check other scenarios you can use them. I'll say again, I learned Millia in the beta. Take Millia for example, I did standing 5k with her, and I learned that if you do forward, or if you do 6H, right, 6 heavy slash, the first hit is cancelable, isn't overhead, and you may say, damn, that sucks, but the first hit is cancelable, so you can do her command dash in the air out of that and get a free grab, or you can do an overhead mix-up for a move that already hits mid. All these things are really useful, so I recommend you look in the command list and go through all that. But instead of me sitting here talking to you about how to do things, I'm going to actually give you a practical situation in which I learned how to play Millia right now. I went from playing Giovanna to trying Millia, and I was instantly confused. Giovanna, the combos were simple, the pressure seemed somewhat there, and besides getting beaten by wake up throw, which is also a valid option unless you meaty very specifically, it was very hard for me to play her. It was very easy to play Giovanna. Going on to Millia, it was very hard for me to play her because I was stuck in the old Guilty Gear mindset where I don't know how to combo. I kept trying to sit there and just do endless block strings against them, and more than anything, I was struggling to get in the air. I could do the combos and everything. Well, I could only do the combos if it hit on block, or if I did the tandem top and went into her heavy button, and it was very difficult for me to understand how to play this character. But then I went into training mode and I just checked my buttons, and this is what I recommend that you do before you play anything, before you play anybody. Go into training mode and check your buttons. Don't even do anything with the dummy yet. See how far your punch goes, see how far your kick, heavy slash goes, and then see what they all do. All right. Maybe punch is my fastest button, so I get to do that if I want to wake up and press a button. Kick is a pretty far normal and it cancels, you know? Test everything out and then try to see what else they do. And when I did that, I learned that Millia's 5K, her standard kick, X in the control, it's jump cancelable. And once I pieced that together, I started seeing the mix. I started doing kick into air dash, and then did everything else. And then on top of that, I learned that, man, I don't need to do her tandem top mix-up in order to get real damage off of her combos. So then I said, wait, isn't Bad Moon a move? How do I do that more often? And I learned you can Tiger Knee Bad Moon, and when you Tiger Knee it, and you RC the Tiger Knee of Bad Moon, which is basically going to be you doing down, forward, and then ending and moving up forward, and then hitting P right as you hit up forward or a little bit after it. Okay. If you get punch in the air, you did it too slow, and if you get forward P on the ground, then you did it too fast. So use that to gauge how to do Tiger Knee moves, for Millia at least. But once I learned that you can do Tiger Knee Bad Moon, I quickly saw the potential with the character and the fact that I don't even need to do a mix-up or to knock you down to get my max damage. I can do this, and although it will be a little bit less damage, I get more mixes from this. More than anything, when you're trying to learn a new fighting game, I recommend that you change your mindset and be adaptable. What may be commonplace in other fighting games such as Street Fighter, like knocking somebody down and running up and hitting a meaty button like medium punch or crouching medium kick on them. You know, what may be common knowledge in that game, you may do that to somebody in Guilty Gear Strive and you'll get thrown. And that's fine, because you're learning a new game and it's natural for you to have certain concessions, especially when you start in other fighting games. But I will say, play around with your characters and see what their buttons do. See what cancels, see what's real, and don't be afraid to change around your settings. Now we're going to talk about training dummy settings and how you can set up certain interactions. If you go into a training setting right here, you can scroll down and then set the guard of the enemy or the training dummy to do guard after first attack. This basically makes it so that you can test for true combos, right? So I'll do something like this, not a true combo. He'll guard the second that it's not a real combo. You can also check the left hand corner where it says combos. I can then move the slider to check guard only first attack. And you may think, why would you want him to guard your first attack? And this is how you check for block strings. If you're ever unsure, or if you ever want somebody to block, in which you want people to block in fighting games, at a certain level, once people start blocking, you can start doing things like mixing in throws, doing left rights, but the first thing you need to do is make them block. So at a certain level, you're going to start to play, you're going to see players get hit less and less by your attacks, and you're going to have to actually play neutral and win some other way by forcing them into tricky situations, such as frame traps. You can test frame traps in this system by setting the dummy to guard after first attack, or a guard first attack only, and then you can set the positions of counter attack settings and put on recovery or on block or after block, press the fastest normal, which is going to be punch. By doing this, you can allow yourself to test what frame traps. Frame trapping is basically you pressing a button, then you pressing another button, slightly delayed or in a certain timing in order to counter hit the opponent if they try and come back and press a button in return. Frame traps beat people that try and press buttons against you that don't want to sit there and block all your attacks. It's a good idea to test this for a lot of characters, for example Chip, because you may look at Chip's block strings at first and be like, okay, he just does this into low, right? And then you look at Chip again and you try and put guard only first, and then you can run up, hit one kick, delay the kick, hit the kick again, and then do a sweep, and now you get a real combo. And that's what the high game, that's where the highest level of a lot of these games come in baiting an opponent to do certain things or take back a turn with certain characters. That being said, there are also some times where you just don't know how to be the character. It's fine. You go online, you don't know why Leo keeps doing the thing where he hits you behind, but he's in front of you, and then he hits you overhead, and then 40% of your health is done, and you're mad. You can also go into playback recording by going into the button commands and making one of your triggers, or one of the buttons that you're not using, into record and one into play. And once you do this, you can test the move that Leo is doing by going in the command list, looking at his thing. Oh, he's doing the behind attack. What are his mix-ups? Can I grab him out of it? Can I hit him out of it? What can I do? And that's how you should test certain moves. However, I recommend that you use this advice with a grain of salt because overall, this is a beta, things are subject to change, so maybe you'll lab this out right now and then when the actual game comes out, it won't happen. But bottom line, don't think of a fighting game as being stagnant and don't think of your character as being bad right away. Try out different things with a character. This is Guilty Gear. Every character plays different. Every character plays differently from one another, and even the easiest character in this game has very hard executions, different nuances, and fucked up mixes, because let's be honest, in the end of the day, you can mix people up with any character in this game. So I advise you that rather than calling a character bad or low tier, or anything in a beta, go in the lab, practice out the character, see what they can really do. Don't have the mentality of one character. Just because Soul's standing medium or a slash and heavy slash combo and do a bunch of damage doesn't mean that's the same thing's gonna happen to Chip, you know? Chip, you're gonna want to run in a lot and use his 5k and then cancel that into sweep. With that being said, I hope that you learned something from this video, and remember that this is just a beta. A lot of things are subject to change in the final version of the game that's gonna release April 9th. And have fun while you can. Don't get too caught up in winning or losing. Take everything step by step, and then you realize that fighting games really aren't that difficult to play.